Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jared here. NBA game review. Just saw the Lakers and the Magic at the Kia Center in Orlando on March 21st, 2026. And boy, what a game it was, let me tell you. So, let me preface this by saying I'm a diehard Denver Nuggets fan, as some of you know, and majority of the NBA games that I've seen in person have been Nuggets Magic. Have seen a few off-ball games like the Warriors and the Spurs, but I have never seen LeBron James live, and it has been on my bucket list for years, and I've been putting it off for years. This year was the year I finally decided to pull the trigger. I just thought to myself, he's still playing at a very high level, but he is regressing statistically, and I worry that if I wait too much longer, I'd end up seeing him on his retirement tour, and he might be a shell of himself at that time. Probably will not be, just because of how good he's been over the course of his career, but I didn't want to take any chances, especially with, like I said, the statistics saying that he is regressing. So yeah, I remember last year I was looking at the tickets all the way up until tip-off, and the tickets never went down. Some events and some games, some shows, the tickets will go down near showtime or tip-off. But I realized when it comes to marquee players and marquee teams like the Lakers, like LeBron James, like Luka Doncic, it is not the case at all. The tickets are just going to get higher and higher the closer you get to tip-off. But unfortunately, I didn't really remember that until very late. So I ended up waiting again this year, all very, very late. Shouldn't have done that, but it is what it is. Ended up getting nosebleeds the night before for $271. And did I want to pay that much? Absolutely not. I could have gotten nosebleeds for much cheaper if I would have gotten the tickets in advance. But I knew nosebleeds were probably going to be what I was going to buy this go around. Didn't want to spend $300 to $400 on better seats. I just really wanted to see LeBron live. That was the main thing. Didn't really care where I sat. Plus, in my opinion, I've said this numerous times, I don't think nosebleeds are that bad, to be honest with you. So, got those, and flying solo this time. I have never experienced an NBA game by myself. I've always had somebody with me, so that was going to be a new experience. I was also very interested to see JJ Redick as a head coach, especially with him being on the Magic for so long. You know, he's a hometown favorite. These are his old stomping grounds, and I saw him play for the Magic for so many years, so that was going to be cool. And yeah, seeing Luka was going to be very interesting. Austin Reeves was questionable going into this game with some left hip soreness. I was worried he wasn't going to play, especially with how good he's been this year. He's had an all-star caliber year. Didn't make the all-star team, but almost good enough to make the all-star team this year. So I was worried he wasn't going to play. And on the Magic side of things, unfortunately, Franz Wagner was listed as out for this game. He's dealt with so many injuries over the course of his career, but when he plays, he's so good. He is very good. And unfortunately, Anthony Black was out. He's been having a really nice year as well. And then Wendell Carter Jr. was questionable going into this game. I was hoping he would play. I've always thought to myself that he's got to be one of my favorite players in the league, probably like top 15, top 20 favorite players. I just think he's kind of a cool-looking player. But as far as the seasons go for the Magic and the Lakers, it's been very up and down for both teams. They're both in the top 6, top 7 in both of their respective conferences. I will say, though, going into this game, the Lakers were red hot, winning 8 straight games. Magic are very cold. losing 3 straight games. But in that last Lakers game against the Heat, Luka dropped 60. But yeah, I was definitely very excited to go to this game, and went ahead and drove over there to Kia Center. Now, typically when I go to these games, I park in the Geico garage, and it's not called the Geico garage anymore. It's called something else. I don't even know what the heck it's called, but they've done some rebranding on that. And that leads me to my next point. I haven't been to an NBA game since, I believe, November 2023. So it has been a long time. I've wanted to go to multiple games, but just didn't happen for one reason or another. So they might have rebranded this garage years ago, for all I know. So when I got to the garage, I saw that parking was permit only. I did not buy advanced parking for this event. Never do. But that was a little different for me. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to adjust here and find something else. And by the way, just a side note, getting to the venue was a little bit of a challenge for me, just navigating I-4. But luckily they had some parking right across the street from that garage, $40, and it wasn't a big issue with like, oh, you have to have cash only, or we do cash and Cash App. Luckily, they just had like every option available. Thank God. I know I've dealt with that in the past, being at the Heat Arena. So parked over there in just this little lot, which, by the way, that little lot actually really reminds me of where I parked at the Heat venue. And I was a little worried when I parked because the way that they were organizing things, it was very, very tight and compact, and there wasn't a lot of room to move your car if you wanted to move your car. So once I parked, I was like, there's not really much of a chance of me moving this car until after the game. You know, not that I would need to, but, you know, in a case of an emergency or something. But I was a little worried about getting out. But yeah, the parking was $40, and got there a little bit before 6 o'clock. Game time was 7. Got out of my car, already noticed numerous LeBron James jerseys, Luka Doncic jerseys, Lakers jerseys, and that was what I saw majority of the way all the way up to walking to my seat, to be honest with you. So I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I think there may be more Lakers fans here than Magic fans, but I wasn't 100% sure, just going off of what I was seeing. Obviously saw some Magic jerseys, but nothing too crazy. Of course, you're going to have your Tim Hardaway Sr. jerseys. Shout out Tim Hardaway, coming from a Nuggets fan, of course. Some Shaquille O'Neal. I saw some Markelle Fultz. And getting over to the venue was so easy. It was right there. Just walked over there and walked right on in. They do a little metal detecting, and then they just scan your ticket and you walk in. Just a really nice venue, Kia Center, just very big and open. And man, I remember back in the day going to the old Amway Arena, and then they made this venue as the Amway Center. Now it's called the Kia Center. I think this is my first time being at the Kia Center since they've rebranded to the Kia Center, I'm pretty sure. But went ahead and went up the escalators. I was in section 219, row 1, seat 17. If anyone wants to actually like look it up online or anything like that. But started walking around, looked at some of the merchandise, and so many firsts when it comes to this experience for me. This is also the first year of the new Magic rebrand, where they have their new jerseys, new logo, things of that nature, which, by the way, I absolutely love their rebrand. Typically, I don't really like rebrands when it comes to many sports teams, but I really, really like this one and all the jerseys that they've done for this one. So it was cool to see some of those jerseys in the merchandise area, and seeing some of those jerseys like, you know, Banchero and Wagner. Just to talk about Banchero a little bit, I know, like I said, the Magic season's been very up and down. I know at times there's been some friction between Banchero and Jamal Mosley, their head coach, but it seems like that chatter has kind of calmed down over the last month or so, but it's still something in the back of your mind for sure. But went ahead, got to my seat and sat down, and it's always a sigh of relief just looking at the view and seeing everything, because like I said, I don't think nosebleeds are that bad, and to just get that confirmation is always nice. But the view was nice. It was interesting to see the new Magic logo on the court, and no players were out there on the court yet. I was there about 30-40 minutes before tip-off, and just kind of getting settled in, taking all the atmosphere in, looking at the banners, like seeing the retired Shaquille O'Neal jersey. Once again, I think that's also new since I last been. They also retired the number 6, the 6th man for the Orlando Magic, and also just to see some of the other banners like the 1994, 1995 conference championship banner, and also the one from the late 2000s, or maybe it was early 2010s, I don't remember, but when they went to the finals both years and lost. Interesting to see those, and just some other things up in the rafters and whatnot. But one thing I will say about my seat, I knew, of course, getting the first row and having the very last seat was probably not going to be the best as far as getting up and down, but my seat actually was a little bit destroyed, to be honest with you. I did have a right armrest, but my left armrest was completely ripped off. So nothing that bothered me throughout the night, but definitely just something of note. If you're wondering what I was wearing for this particular game, I decided to go with my Nuggets sweatshirt, and I wondered if I was actually going to get heckled by any Lakers fans with that rivalry over the last few years. Nuggets had their number for years, but this year Lakers have definitely done a better job at getting some wins against the Nuggets. But actually didn't get heckled one time throughout the whole night, so that was nice. Glad that happened. No one even really commented on it, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was just very exciting, the anticipation to see LeBron come out. To be honest, I'm not a huge LeBron fan. I used to be a bigger fan when I was younger and he was on the Heat. As the last few years, my feelings on LeBron have soured. I do think, of course he's a flopper, and I just think he complains so much, and I also think he just loves to be the center of attention, and I just think a lot of the things he says and does is very, very cringy, and I just liked him way more when he was on the Heat with Birdman and Wade and Bosh. But like I said, he's still one of the greatest of all time. A lot of people think he is the greatest of all time, and I'm like, I'm such a big basketball fan. I gotta see him before I die and before he retires. So next thing you know, the Magic were the first ones to come out on the floor, and then the Lakers followed. Luka led the charge for the Lakers team when they came out, and then LeBron was very last in line. Very interesting. They all started to shoot around and do layup lines, and man, I just had absolute goosebumps when LeBron came out, and it was just surreal. It really was, just to see him, and the crowd went crazy, of course. And a lot of the warm-ups, I was just really focused on LeBron, and I got a lot of videos from my vlog. LeBron was in very good spirits, laughing, smiling, doing a lot of dancing. One thing of note with his wardrobe, he was wearing these sparkling green and gold shoes, and then Luka was wearing these like pinkish orange shoes that were very, very bright also. But it was just interesting watching them. And LeBron, he didn't do anything crazy in warm-ups. I think he might have had one dunk, but I actually missed it. he did a lot of just like kind of doing some crazy shots. And I remember Luka was like kicking the ball like from, I don't know if it was half court, maybe the 3-point line, maybe in between, but he was just doing some trick shots, trying to kick the ball in. Interesting to see Bronny James, also LeBron's son. He's on the team. He's been on the team for a little while now. I was interested to see if he was going to play, and I mentioned Austin Reeves earlier. Luckily, he was good to go for this game, and I was happy about that. I know his nickname is AR-15, and yeah, just to see some of the other guys: Rui Hachimura, DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart. Then we have Luke Kennard, and we'll talk about him later. I mean, if you already saw the game, you already know about Luke Kennard in this one. But yeah, just to see the other guys. One thing that was interesting, like near the end of warm-ups, they had this, it almost seemed like a ritual that the Lakers did, where like LeBron would throw the ball up super high, and then it would hit the ground. And then when it bounced up and hit the ground again, like the whole team would like kind of crouch, almost in like some sort of, what word am I looking for? Almost like a, I don't even know, just some sort of ritual that they were doing together, where they were all like synchronized, crouching together when the ball would hit the ground. But yeah, the team was very loose, and I looked over at the Magic side of things, and man, couldn't be less interested in watching the Magic warm up, to be honest with you. It was just, the show was really over on the Lakers side. So yeah, eventually they went ahead and did the national anthem, which was fine. I got a little video of that. One thing I will say though, the Lakers players, most of them were not out there for the national anthem. There were only like 4 or 5 of them out there. I noticed the whole Magic team was out there, but yeah, I didn't see majority of the Lakers players out there, but they did player intros next, and it was pretty much flown through for the Lakers. And that reminds me of my next point I want to make, another first. The new PA announcer for the Orlando Magic, they got rid of Paul Porter, and I remember being upset about that personally, and I think a lot of people were too. They kind of just like forced him into retirement, it seems like. And maybe not retirement, maybe he still calls some other things, but he's not doing the Magic anymore. And his voice was just so iconic with the team, and I never had a problem with them. I don't really know why they forced him out. But the new guy they have, I think I've heard him before. Like, I think he might have been, I could be wrong about this, but he might have been Paul Porter's backup during the games over the last few years. But he kind of actually sounds like Paul Porter a little bit, to be honest with you. But yeah, they went ahead and introduced the Magic players, and luckily Wendell Carter was good to go too. So I was very, very interested to see what uniforms both teams were going to be using. Lakers went with their purple uniforms, and the Magic went with their white uniforms. And officiating crew was Mark Davis and a couple other referees. But man, Mark Davis, one of my least favorite refs in the whole entire NBA. I was a little disappointed to see he was going to be on the call, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, they went ahead and tipped the ball off, and the game was started. And man, that first quarter was very, very interesting. Luka Doncic was red hot. Magic did not have a great quarter. Lakers ended up winning the quarter 37-30, and lots of offense, not a lot of defense in this one to start. And to be honest, the vibes just seemed like, man, Magic might get blown out here. Yeah, Luka had, I believe, 16 in the first quarter, and he was just hitting threes, and it was just fascinating to watch him do his thing. Really good at just, you know, shaking his defender with that quick move and just stepping back and just hitting a three. And man, some of the shots that he was making, it was just like butter. It was so smooth, barely moving the net, just swishing it, and just it was just fascinating to watch how good he is. And LeBron James, like very, very early in the game, he had a fast break dunk coming right at us, one-handed. That was maybe the highlight of the whole night for me. Gave me goosebumps. Crowd went nuts. That was crazy. He was all by himself on that fast break, and it was just a classic LeBron play that we've seen a million times on TV, but to witness it in person was just something else. Glad that happened, especially it being on, my side of the court. So section 219 that I was in, basically when I was looking down at the court, I was basically on the corner of the court facing the Lakers bench, and then off in the distance was the Magic bench. And I can't complain about the view. But that first quarter, I took a lot of videos because I was like, I got to make sure I get some good footage of these, star players and everything, because this might be a blowout. But that second quarter was very interesting because the Magic came out and they had much better energy in that second quarter. Luka was out of the game and the Magic just played way better. I think they scored 35, in the second quarter, but either way, they outscored the Lakers by a good bit, and they just played much better overall. And even when Luka came back in the game, even though he still was scoring, it wasn't as good as he was in the first quarter, and the momentum had officially shifted to the point that the Magic took the lead going into halftime. And I was thinking to myself, like, thank God, like, we have a good game on our hands. But some of the Magic players that were standing out to me around this time were Tristan Da Silva. Thought he had some good plays. Javon Carter, he was really nice. But at the same time, I just think it was very balanced scoring for the Magic. Like, it wasn't like there was one or two guys that were really carrying the load. Like Paolo Banchero, he really wasn't playing the best. Desmond Bane wasn't playing the best. It was really a lot of the other guys that were, carrying the load for the Magic. But they were much better on defense in that second quarter, and it was good to see. Because, like I said, I mean, I don't want to come to these games and see a blowout or just see a bad game, anything like that. Like, I want to see a good game. And, like, honestly, being a Nuggets fan, I just wanted to see a good game. And then the second half was interesting because, man, there was definitely a lot more fouls called, a lot more defense, a lot less offense. It was a very different compared to the first half of the game. And one thing that I've also found fascinating about my experience with this go-round and this game, a lot has changed for me over the last few years. And one of those major changes in my life is I became a really, really big fan of the DNVR Nuggets podcast and listening to all the post-game shows and a lot of the off-day shows and a lot of the pre-game shows and stuff, and they have really helped me with my basketball knowledge to the point that I could literally feel it watching this game. I just felt like I was so much more in tune with the game and following the stats and following the box score and just really, keeping up with things like, okay, this guy has this many fouls, and just really being in tune with the game more than I ever have before, which made it more exciting and more pleasurable and more fun. I just think, like, back in the day, I think I was just more of a casual fan, and I understood, like, the gist of what happened in the game, but I wasn't as diehard of a fan as I am now. So it was just a lot of fun to experience the game, and with my new mindset that I've created, I guess, over the last few years. But and just really paying attention to what's going on as far as, like, man, I remember there were some chippy moments, especially with Marcus Smart and Goga Batadze, and also Marcus Smart and Wendell Carter Jr. And then, who was it? I want to say Marcus Smart got into it with someone else too. But, Marcus Smart, he didn't score a lot of points in this game, but, man, he was definitely active. There was one point, I think it was in the third quarter, where he had a very, very violent play where he got injured on, and it looked like he had a groin issue, and he actually went to the locker room, and I was worried that he wasn't going to be able to return, but luckily he did. And I just think, I just don't want to see guys get injured, and I don't want to see players not play because of injury, and it takes away from the experience a little bit for sure. So I'm glad that he was able to come back out and tough it out, even though he didn't really play the best, but I think he definitely added to the experience. Luka got a technical at one point, and I mentioned how there were a lot more fouls in the second half, and yeah, I definitely think that was the case. I just think it kind of disrupted the rhythm a little bit of the game, and some of the fouls were stupid. And speaking of the fouls, man, the Lakers, this is something we all already know, but when you're witnessing it in person, it's so much more prevalent, I guess, to me. They complain so much. LeBron, Luka, Marcus Smart, everyone on the team, JJ Redick. It was just constant complaining to the referees, and it was just interesting just to see them play the social politics. And I mentioned JJ Redick. I wanted to go back to the first quarter for a second. He used his challenge super early in the game. Like, I'm talking 2-3 minutes into the game on a foul for Austin Reeves. Thought that was such a silly challenge. He ended up losing it, and I remember I was looking on the Jumbotron, him talking to Mark Davis and doing some lip reading, and JJ Redick was like, that was the worst thing I've ever, he said, like, that's the worst foul I've ever seen, or like, that's the worst call I've ever seen in my life, or something. It was something like that. I was just like, whoa, what is he doing? I was wondering if when they introduced him during, player and coaches intros, if he was going to get a pop from the crowd, but he actually didn't. But interesting to see him coaching the team for, the Lakers. Just interesting to see him in such a different role. But yeah, he does a lot of complaining too, unfortunately. I wish he coached a different team because I love JJ Redick. But definitely some chippy moments in the second half. I never realized Goga Batadze is such a, I don't want to say little shit, but kind of a little shit. Like he's kind of like an irritant, I think. But honestly, that third quarter was very back and forth. And I will say throughout the game, Austin Reeves was really the guy for the Lakers besides Luka that was scoring for them. He did a nice job scoring, getting in the lanes, hitting some threes and stuff like that. And that leads me to my next point. Man, now that we're getting into the third and fourth quarters, it starts to dawn on you. It's like, man, LeBron is not having a very good game at all. I will say he did break a record when he started this game. Most games ever played by an NBA player. Cool to witness that. Even though I didn't know about it happening until like a few minutes after the game started and I got a notification on my phone, but cool to witness that. But man, not one of his better games. He was just doing a lot of jump shots, not a lot of getting to the rim, and he was just really letting Luka and Austin Reeves carry the brunt of the work. But disappointing, a little bit disappointing, to be honest with you. Was hoping that he would, perform to his standard, at least for this year, scoring over 20. But, man, throughout most of the game, he had single-digit points and was kind of a non-factor. Other than that, like I said, that fast breakaway, one-handed slam dunk, that was awesome. But, yeah, back and forth game in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, once again, fouls called, and, started going down to the wire, and it was just neck and neck, and just a very interesting and fascinating end to the game. It was basically the Magic's game for them to lose. They were up, multiple points at the very end, and all they had to do is just not beat themselves. And, Luka shot a three at the end and missed it. That was wide open. Austin Reeves shot a three at the end, wide open, missed it. And then, Magic just had to, they just had to close it out. DeAndre Ayton had some free throws at the end, and he intentionally missed one when he didn't have to. it was just like all the Magic had to do, like I said, was just close it out. But it got to the point where I mentioned DeAndre Ayton missing that free throw. The Magic got the rebound, and then Jamal Mosley immediately called a timeout. And I remember some people around me were like, why is he calling a timeout when they're up? And I'm not going to lie, like, it did make me think, like, you didn't really have to use that timeout at all. Like, they had the rebound and everything. So it's like, okay, maybe they can get away with it because they're up. But then next thing you know, there's an inbound play for the Magic, and the ball's inbounded to Paolo Banchero, and basically LeBron is all over him, and LeBron tried to smack the ball off of Paolo, and that's exactly what ended up happening. That was the call on the floor. It was crazy. You know, we're talking just seconds left in the game at this point, and the Magic are up 2 points. And they did this long review, and it was just so crazy how close it was, if it was really off Paolo or not. Honestly, there were shots that they showed. It looked like it might have been off LeBron's shorts. Maybe it was off LeBron's shoe. Maybe it was off Paolo's finger. The call on the floor, like I said, was Laker ball. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, either this is the call on the floor is going to stand, or they're going to call it off LeBron. But Mark Davis comes on the mic and says the ruling on the floor is that the ball was off the Magic. I just think that was absolute bullshit, in my opinion. Classic Mark Davis moment. And, you know, maybe LeBron getting a superstar call. I don't think it should have been that call. If anything, the call should have stood, or it should have been off LeBron. But in this, you know, at the end of this game, I found myself actually rooting for the Magic. But yeah, next thing you know, it's Lakers ball. They inbound it to LeBron. He's wide open in the lane for a layup. He could just, you know, hit this layup and tie the game up. And you know, one of the Magic players actually blocks it, goes out of bounds, and it's still Laker ball. We're talking such little time left on the clock now. Lakers get another chance to inbound it. They inbound it to Luke Kennard, arguably the best three-point shooter in the league, wide open once again. And he shoots it and drills it with 0.6 left on the clock. Crowd goes absolutely nuts, absolutely insane. It was just incredible. But the crazy thing is, like, at this point, the Magic are out of timeouts, so they have 0.6 to go take it up the length of the court. Desmond Bain, it was either Desmond Bain or Jalen Suggs. I don't remember exactly. I think it was Jalen Suggs, actually. Shot like a full court heave, and it was an air ball. Lakers win by 1 point. Luke Kennard, game-winning, wide-open three-point shot. Nuts. Just absolutely nuts. One of the best games I've ever seen, even though I was disappointed. The Magic, you know, were the Magic. Totally blew it in the end. Losers of 4 straight. Lakers are winners of 9 straight now. Luka scored over 30. Reeves scored over 20. And yeah, it was just sad that the Magic, you know, completely beat themselves in the end. I mean, yeah, I do agree Mark Davis and, you know, the referees blew that call, but still, like, you got to be better executing. I couldn't believe Jamal Mosley called the timeout for no reason late in the game, and just their execution down the stretch was just bad. Like, 2 wide open shots. I mean, I say wide open for LeBron with that layup. He really was, even though it got blocked. And then Luke Kennard hit, you know, with the wide open 3 to win it. Just a horrible execution. They only scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. Paolo Banchero was not. He just wasn't good enough in this game. I thought he wasn't aggressive enough. And, man, in a game that LeBron wasn't super aggressive either, and he didn't get to the rim a lot. He just shot a lot of jumpers. He only scored, I think, 12-ish points, something like that. Lakers squeak it out. And, they were just celebrating with Luke Kennard, and Luke Kennard was just like so hyped up, smiling ear to ear and just yelling at the crowd. It was just fascinating. So yeah, the Lakers win 105-104, and just a crazy game. Really worth every penny. Like I can't complain about how good the game was. It really was a good game. It was a game I'll never forget, and it was just crazy. It was just a lot to process, to be honest with you. But lots of Lakers fans in the crowd. In the end, I thought, even though there were a lot of Lakers fans in the crowd, there still were a lot of Magic fans that were audible. But as far as, like, once again, even just leaving the arena, it just seemed like there were way more Lakers fans. It was crazy. But it was really cool just to see all the different jerseys and stuff that people were wearing, you know, walking out of the arena, walking in the arena and whatnot. But man, what a night. I just really blessed, really grateful to be able to experience this and be able to, you know, spend money on this type of stuff. And it's memories like this that last forever. And yeah, you know, if you have the opportunity, I definitely would recommend going to these games, and if you can, and you know, take advantage of those opportunities. You never know how many opportunities you're going to get left with LeBron, and you know, some of these things just really stick for you the rest of your life. So yeah, you know, I can't complain. You know, getting out of the arena was actually very easy, and getting in my car and leaving that parking lot was actually very easy, luckily too. And then getting back on the highway and driving home right now has been fine. So that's pretty much all I got. Lakers, Magic, absolutely crazy game. And if you all watched the game, what did you think? If you all were at the game, what did you think? Have you been to the Kia Center? Have you seen the Magic before? Are you a Magic fan? Are you a Lakers fan? Or are you a Nuggets fan like me? Showing up to a Lakers Magic game by myself. So let me know your thoughts. What did you think of this podcast? Hope you all enjoyed. And I hope you can please comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.